Hello everyone and welcome back to Hearthstone Global Games. We are already ready to get into match number 2. And Lorinda is going to join me on the desk to bring you this one. It's going to be New Zealand versus Spain. You looking forward to this one?
Yeah, really looking forward to the first game for me for the day at least. And it's going to be great fun to see how these two nations, maybe two of the lesser known nations going into this in terms of Hearthstone ability, see how they end up getting on with it.
Yeah, well, we've seen some middling results from both teams. I would say I think New Zealand as well has been, I think they've been really putting in the practice and putting in the preparation. I know I've been speaking to Patra that you can see on the screen now, along with Ting Tong, Slayer Max and Flame Lord for New Zealand. I've been speaking to Patra and said like they've been putting a lot of time into preparation, what decks they want to bring, what they think their opponent's going to bring, and especially Q order they've talked a lot about as well.
Right, and both of these teams have mixed up their classes. They've only played 2 games, so it's a bit hard to say if there's a pattern, but
sure.
They haven't gone into the, hey, this guy's going to play these 2 classes trap, and they're mixing up the pairings of the classes. So doing the research is one thing, but it might be quite hard because Spain are quite willing to mix it up.
Yeah, and for Spain, we see Duck, Feeling, Evangelion, and Yosemite as well. So it's all looking good for them. Evangelion is, I'm a fan of that guy. He's awesome. He plays, he loves his control decks. He likes to play the slow game in general, and we'll see if that works out for him. I think he didn't get to play last time. I think he was number 4, and Spain got 3-0'd from what I read. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right.
That was definitely at least one of their matches as well. Maybe last time he didn't, but. They won 3-0 and they've lost 3-0. So
that was the 3-0 loss. Evangelion didn't play.
Right, that was the first time they played.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, interesting. The Spanish team's interesting because they've got Duck, who's a very strong, consistent ladder player, and Evangelion, who obviously won DreamHack last year. And then they've got 2 players who are very, very big on YouTube and maybe play a little bit less competitively. And so it's interesting to see if that mix of competitive plus experience mixes up well.
It kind of reminds me of the Polish team with like I Kill You and then Blackfire Ice,
right.
MKR, like some big personalities there. But now we can see what classes these players are bringing to the tournament. Is a team best of 5 with each player picking one of the 2 classes they've brought to play against the player opposite them. The first team, 2-3, will take the series overall. And we're kicking off with Slayer Max versus Yosemite, and it's going to be Warrior and Shaman versus Warlock or Paladin. So both players are going to pick one of those, and again, Slayer Max looks like he's going with the strategy of I'll pair Warlock with Paladin because Paladin's really good and I want to play Paladin, so doesn't even have to think about this choice, although I've been proven wrong. Last week we saw Warlock get played.
We did.
Never mind. I'm right.
You're right, just for a change. There we go. No, you've been right a lot. Looking at the strategies at the bottom there, I'm surprised we haven't seen this more, by the way, where they put their ace player on 4th, which means that they have more options later on. You don't know, if you're the only team who puts your ace player on 4th and the other team doesn't, then your ace match is like got 3 choices going into match 4.
Yeah.
And so you can work
out. It's like 2.5
plan.
choices to a certain extent.
Sure, yeah. Because one of them it's maybe predictable to some extent, or you can't play. But it does give you that little bit of extra information going into that. So I'm surprised more teams haven't done this. I think they started off, and everybody said, but you want your best players to play the first 3 games because you don't want to lose 3-0, and points different matters. And then I think we might be seeing that come back in this week.
We've also seen some teams as well take the approach of almost like just rotating players out and in. I think United States haven't had the same player as the number 4 pick every single match. I think they started off with Hot Meowth was, and then I think Amnesiac was, and then I think they had Dog last time as well. So, just all these different small things coming into this format and making some changes is going to be very interesting to see, as we are in week 5 of the Global Games Phase 1, and we have got this week plus 5 more weeks till we find out who's going to make it out of these initial groups, and then they're going to be moving on to another round robin.
Yeah, the next round robin then gets to do another third, and then we get down to a 16-player or 16-team elimination.
That's going to be brutal.
That's when it's going to get ridiculous. Yeah, it's like, got to get those good seedings as well, because in a tournament this big with so many, there's a lot of medium teams and several really massive powerhouses. You don't want to be paired up against one of those powerhouses, so grabbing those top seeds is actually more important, I think we've been discussing previously as well.
Yeah, especially with seeding becomes more and more important the more matches are played, right? Yeah. Because it's really like, you play 100 games of Hearthstone, suddenly the seeding is very important indeed. We are kicking it off, though. It's going to be New Zealand versus Spain, Paladin versus Warrior. Blessed of Kings in the opening hands, 2 of, in fact, which gives a small nod to what kind of list this Paladin list is, whereas good old Quest Warrior is going to be the choice for Spain.
Good old Quest Warrior. 1 month in and we're calling something good old already. I've seen some of the more defensive Paladins play 1 Blessing. I'm not sure if that's just because it's a decent card or whether it's to...
And a surprise factor.
There's a bit of surprise factor as well. But 2 Blessings and a Spike Ridge Steed. That's going to be really, really aggressive coming into turns 4 and obviously into turn 6.
Yeah, I wouldn't surprise me too much. I'm probably going to say this and be wrong now. If this list kind of tops out at like Tyrion at 8, but then Tarim, Spyro, Steed at 6, and then everything else below. Because for Blessing of Kings to be any good, you always need the board.
Yep.
Because a lot of the times, whenever your opponent has no board, Hero Power Blessing of Kings, you're like, okay, you know, that seems good. You've just got a 5/5 for 6 mana. I don't really care about that. But look at his hand now. Equality and a Kodo, sorry.
Yeah.
So we'll move the mouse in a minute, guys. Sorry about that. It says now I can't see. There we go. The Kodo as well. It gives them more of a nod, especially Burn Bristle, just more of a nod to like, oh, maybe this deck's just another mishmash Paladin deck.
Yeah, there's so many different... There's like 60 cards in Paladin. Pick 30 of them, stick them in a deck, see how it goes.
Yeah.
That seems to be... Obviously, people playing the aggressive Paladin with the Murlocs. Obviously, that is a strategy that people have formulated. But yeah, I think some other people have decided that 6/6 Burn Bristle is a pretty good defensive measure. We've seen that a lot. It's hard to get rid of on turn 3 if you've got any semblance of board on turn 2.
Yeah, even with Stonehill as well, 3 into 4.
Yeah.
It's one of those cards that, very similar to Spite Ridge to a certain extent, where if you manage to pull it off versus aggro deck, you probably just win, actually. You know, a lot of the time you see, say, like, you match against Pirate Warrior.
Yep.
If you land a Spite Ridge, they probably just quit because they cannot plow through that much taunt and still be effective on board.
Yeah, and if you hit somebody once with a 6/6 Burn Bristle, or if it just sits there as a 6/6 Burn Bristle, you have to hit it twice to kill it.
You probably just heal up to
12. Yeah, you're just back where you started. They've run out of resources. But this is very different. This is the Quest Warrior Grind Fest, where the early game's all about getting that hero power online as quickly as possible, and we are seeing more and more defensive builds of this warrior come in, which means the hero power is taking, well, the quest is taking longer and longer to complete.
Something you don't really want versus Paladin specifically. Paladin, one of the classes that can work the best against Quest Warrior, because they can generate a random 1/1 every turn, which definitely helps versus the hero power. And also, just the amount of value in this deck means that they can just keep going, and there's still chances like Rag Lightlord, for example, which is a potential 16 heal because it'll heal face once and then it might soak in a hit from the hero power. So there's a lot that could go wrong here for Usemi.
So what happens here, as far as I've seen, and there's a lot of arguing over which one is favourite in this. I think I slightly prefer the Paladin, but I've definitely seen people claim Warrior is favoured. Is we do this little dance for 10 turns. Where you try and get value out of your cards because it matters later on and so on, but nobody really gets anywhere for like 10 turns. The Paladin needs to chip away, and then eventually the Warrior wants to brawl away a big enough board that their Sulfuros actually, or their hero power just starts hitting face often enough before the Paladin finishes them off.
Yeah, it's like the old turn 10 Brawl Sulfuros hero power potential swing.
Right.
And
see how many
clears the board. Yeah.
See how much reload the Paladin has got. And this one's going to be interesting, this Paladin, because it is definitely one of the more defensive ones.
Yeah, really strange to see the Blessing of Kings in this list. I'd love to see more, and we will see more as the game goes on. I feel like already you can start to see Conk, Equality, Blessing of Kings, Spite Ridged. There's a lot of situational cards in this deck so far, you know what I mean? Like, it is a little bit tough to deal with. He's going to go for the Blessing of Kings onto the 1/1 instead of the Burn Bristle. And what this does is it just spreads the damage, it spreads the threat level. Burn Bristle, not huge of a threat as a 2/2, but it's a taunt that will continually heal him up. So it has a threat in a different way than just damage.
Right, and the big healing not needed at this stage of the game, and the Burn Bristle's not going to be there later unless he gets another one. From a Stonehill, and so just splitting the damage, making it really difficult to deal with, trying to draw out an execute or something, which could be crucial later when the Warrior wants to remove your minions and hit you for 8 3 or 4 times in a row.
Really important as well that this Silverhand Recruit is on 4 health, not 3, because then Sleep with the Fishes could make it a little bit awkward and deal with this. Although normally you want more value from Sleep with the Fishes, you also don't want to just randomly get powered down by a Blessing of Kings to 1/1, because it's still 5 damage a turn you've got to think about.
And of course, Spain have no idea what they're up against. We do. We've seen all these. Well, even we don't, but we've got a better idea than Spain have. We've seen all these Blessing of Kings hanging around, and we've seen all the defensive cards. All Spain have seen is Blessing of Kings. They're like, oh, this is probably pretty aggressive then.
Yeah. Even the chance at coin into Spite Ridged would be kind of nuts.
Yeah, just keep making things bigger.
Oh yeah, why not, right? Maybe not now, there's just a 5/4 on the board. Did choose to use the swing there. Really tips the War Axe as well. I'm surprised to see if we see more weapon removal on the go, because I've been seeing more and more like Harrison's being dropped into lists, just because you know you're going to be playing against Paladin, Warrior more than likely, either Warrior actually, weapon removal is going to be reasonable.
Especially in these really grindy matchups where players are more and more just trying to get those extra small amounts of card advantage, value advantage. I think we've seen, like you say, several players recently, Orange being one for sure, just dropping Harrison in Mage.
Yeah.
Like, why not? Just get more cards, more value. Right. This deck is super defensive. I guess this is what the buffs are for, right? You've got this super defensive deck, but you're always going to get something to stick, even if it's a 1-1 dude. And so you're going to have something to buff to put a little bit of pressure on, like this. This is the pressure coming in from a defensive deck.
The key there was the 1-1 into buff wasn't dealt with, because against Quest Warrior, there's no normally minions on board that can kill something that big, right? They're all high health, low attack minions that survive. Well, in other matchups, you can imagine if you turn his just hero power into the buff, then it's going to be really, really slow. But it seems to have worked out so far for New Zealand.
I wonder if they're playing 2 Kodos as well. It wouldn't surprise me, because of it seems to have some sort of nod to this particular deck with the Kodo in there. 2 Kodos against like Ali Armorsmiths and stuff is pretty ridiculous.
Also as well, just curate value.
Yep.
Because looking at this deck, I wouldn't want to not play Drake in this deck, personally. Like, Drake seems good.
Yeah, and so, obviously, as always, just Hydrologist, so Curator seems pretty ridiculous in terms of refill potential here.
Curator being one of the key cards in Quest Warrior as well. It means they can refill their hand and actually get some value. We see Daihorn Hatchling, and one of the crazy interactions is when Daihorn Hatchling dies, it puts a 6/9 beast in the deck. Then you Curator it out, and you're like, okay, this is pretty awesome.
That doesn't seem very fair.
It seems fair if you're the Warrior.
Right. I'm surprised you think it's fair, given that you like to hit people in the face, and 6/9s in the board is probably a bit in your way.
You pay 7 mana for it, to be fair, though.
Yeah. Okay, so just a 7/10 that hasn't been executed earlier, so it's one of those where they don't mind either way, right? You don't want it to be executed, but if it is, that's an execute that's not coming into play later when...
And it's a 1-1.
When you're getting
like
for 8
in the long
turn,
run.
right?
Yeah, execute, and now a 2/6 is going to be spawned as the Steadigan.
Right. That's up to 4 out of 7 now, so just starting to put the clock on, but not enough going on for a few more turns yet, and they are starting to face down so much damage now.
Yeah, well, the problem is there's none of the cheaper taunts in hand, so this, there's 3 more, which is at least 3 more turns at this point. There's 2 5-mana taunts in hand, and that's it, in terms of minions that can actually proc the quest, so...
New Zealand have an interesting decision to make in a moment, because obviously Ragnos is absolutely huge later on when you're getting shot in the face, but actually an 8/8 minion when you've seen one already execute gone might just be worth playing it and saying, can you deal with it? Not now because there's too many minions because of Brawl, but if the board gets a bit thinner, I think we might see the Ragnos just play for some pressure and don't worry about the healing, but that does give up later game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a tough one. You've got to make the call whether playing the Rag will get you far enough ahead to not worry about the lack of heal later on. Because there shouldn't be a later on, right? That's the overall plan.
Yeah, the later it goes, obviously the more it favours the Warrior. But even then, the Paladin, if it's done enough early, can usually find a sneaky weapon attack or an Equality Consecration or something just to get some sneaky damage.
The frustration here is Spike Ridge doesn't line up anything well.
Yeah, this 3/6 is an awkward shape right now. And you know that if you start bumping those in, Sleep with the Fishes is going to finish off your whole board. Like, you know that they've got a handful of stuff by now. I know it's only 4 cards, but there's stuff that's lurked in that hand since the start.
The benefit here is the Death Rattle will mean that you can keep chipping away. And also, this is a thing I thought I would like to come up. This is a Spike Ridge steed riding a Spike Ridge steed.
Wow.
It's weird, that, isn't it?
Steedception.
Imagine a horse riding a horse. It'd be really weird.
Yeah, that's really strange.
Yeah, exactly. That's really weird, isn't it? Whereas this is literally what's happening in front of us now. There is a dinosaur riding on a dinosaur. It's very, very strange. I actually thought about it. I think of weird things. I thought about this last night. I was like, how weird is that?
Do you ever... How does it go if the third one gets on to like topple over?
Well, maybe we'll find out if there's Ivory Knight in the deck.
Ivory Knight into dinosaur on dinosaur on dinosaur.
Yeah.
Meanwhile... While the game of Hearthstone is taking place, Consecration wasn't used last turn to finish off the minion because it wouldn't have been any good value. It can be used any time later on. And why would you do it now when things are going to get nastier later on? Unless you're forcing through, of course, lethal damage or close to lethal damage.
Also going to be interesting as to when... I feel like there's always a moment in this matchup, it's the Paladin, where it doesn't matter how big your board is or how much health your board is, you just equality can't clear the taunts and go face. You know, like you just push, and you pick that one turn to go highly aggressive. With Spain now on 19 health, we're getting close to that point, actually, because both these minions are kind of awkward to deal with.
Yeah, that would force through 2 from the Consecration plus 7 from the board. That must be tempting.
What about that play with Dirty right now?
That would be very tempting, yeah.
You push for 7, put your opponent to 12. You conk will do 2, put them to 10. You have 3 minions on board, they have none.
And with the quest on 6 out of 7, that would also, and we can see there is a taunt, that would also make sure that the quest has a very good chance of not being completed next turn.
Also, imagine you pull a Drake. That's sick. Like, they don't get the benefit from the Drake doing 2 damage, and it's a 4-8, quite hard to deal with, right?
Yeah.
If you pull anything reasonably large out of the hand, that's huge. And also, because no doubt New Zealand have been hand tracking, 2 cards on the left have not been played for a very, very long time.
Right.
They probably just aren't taunts. Or they're Drakes. There's something either very high...
brawl as well is what you think.
Yeah.
If you can force a brawl out now before the quest is completed, that is absolutely...
Well, the thing is, force a brawl out and 3 of your own minions, all low value, because it's just a Kodo and a Dino. I love this play. Gets the job done.
Really does.
That's sick. You put them to 10, and what they're gonna like? They can brawl and hit. Great. The Steadicon is still gonna summon another 2/6.
And there isn't even a brawl. I mean,
and there isn't actually a brawl.
The reason they would have thought so long about it is obviously Ravaging Ghoul, Whirlwind effects is a bit of a nightmare blowout, but
the Death Rattle kind of negates it, right? So yes, it blows you out a little bit, but you put your opponent to 10, they play a Ghoul, you still have a 2/6, and then you just go Rag, Drake. You know, you've got so much extra stuff in.
And we're living in a world where they've got these cards.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't. They're in real trouble.
Yeah. Take another 7, so it's going to be, what, 1 off lethal?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we're living in a world where things might actually go wrong. New Zealand are living in a world where, we expect it to go wrong, but also, we're just going to win the game with a load of outs here.
Curator's a great follow-up as well.
Yep.
You'd actually just be fine trading the Stegogon.
I was just going to ask, do you think you trade the Stegogon in here just to make sure the armor doesn't have some weird way of getting out of hand?
Actually, does it even matter?
So you've got to work out in the long run, obviously, the equation is, will this Armorsmith gain you 4 more armor?
I don't think it will. You've seen that the card, look, your opponent is floating 2 cards, right?
Yep.
Because they just waived 5 mana for no reason. Maybe even 7 because they hero powered.
Yep.
So then you're like, well, what could they be? Sleep with the Fishes. It's not Whirlwind or Ghoul. They would have used it, 100%. So I don't mind pushing the damage.
And now you can Hydrologist, and you've got coin to play the secret if you get Getaway Kodo. Or Eye for an Eye, and just say you can never equip your
Oh my
weapon.
god, we could see a dinosaur riding a dinosaur that gets away on a Kodo.
You're enjoying this, aren't you?
This is just blowing my mind at this moment.
Never go to the zoo with Raven, guys. It's terrifying.
It's a weird place. Repentance is going to be the choice, which is also great because you just negate the next taunt minion if it is a Drake, for example, or even an Ali Armorsmith. You fully negate it. It is going to push the damage to face. As we said, you ask yourself the question, is this Armorsmith ever going to gain more than 4 armor? Probably not. So the attack is always worthwhile. Yep. Brawl coming out now for Team Spain. Is Brawl even going to be enough?
I'm trying to see if there's... I mean, does it ever win? So you get to 5 when you use your armor. You've got to bump into the Stegodon first, I think? No, you haven't. That's really bad. Yeah, you have, because otherwise they keep...
Well, the best case, I think, is you Brawl, your Armorsmith lives, and then you can bump your Armorsmith into the Stegodon.
Yeah. And they're actually going, like, onto
halfway
this
in between,
play, yeah.
Let's casually go to 1.
What could go wrong
so
ever?
You bump Armorsmith first, right?
Might as well.
Oh, actually, does it even matter?
Oh, is he trying to win with a Kodo? Armorsmith no, just...
It doesn't matter if he bumps.
Yeah.
1 is the same as 2 versus Paladin, right?
And you trigger the secret. Oh, dear. And no.
GG. New Zealand is going to take the first game here in a very impressive performance. New Zealand, not even a scratch at this point on 30 health. Even going to finish it up with the True Silver Champion. Murloc can just chill on the board for now. Why not? And wow, that was grim. That was grim for Spain. I've got nothing else to say.
Quad buff Paladin.
Okay.
New meta again, because Paladin at the moment, again, apart from 1 or 2 obvious decks that have settled down, it can still just be anything.
Yeah. There's just a lot of room for tinkering in that list, and we saw the power, to be honest, of just that Blessing of Kings on the 1-1. Couldn't get answered. Did it push for like 10, 15 damage? Because then you got
so much.
Spike Ridge
between
as well.
between
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the dinosaurs
Just like
riding
15
around
damage
on
in total.
horses, so much damage was done.
Yeah, absolutely crazy overall. So next up, we've got Ting Tong versus Evangelion. Evangelion, the control master. So not a surprise, his two decks are Priest and Paladin he has. He's going for the Priest to go up against Ting Tong's either Priest or Rogue. We can see he's gone for the Rogue. And, you know, Ting Tong, it's a tough one. From what I know about him, he likes to play more sort of crazier decks, basically. I feel like he's similar to our Jackie Chan, for example.
Well, there's plenty of crazy rogue options out there at the minute.
Well, that's it, right? At first, I was like, oh, he'll just play Quest, because Quest is kind of just on its own over here in terms of the style of play in itself, because of the Quest itself being so different to anything else in the game. But then Miracle, you can do some funky things with as well.
Right.
So, and we've already seen one Miracle Rogue today, but I would have to lean towards Quest here.
Yeah, I've seen Miracles top out at 5 for Leroy. I've seen them top out at 12 or whatever it is for Giants. It's not 12, it's like 5 again. But you can go any way with those rogues. There's Garden Rogue now, which basically has the vial spins that kill things, plus obviously Sherazin, plus the petals. Garden Rogue.
What a name.
What's your ranking grow and your legend points?
What?
In your garden.
Oh, God. Linda, please. Please. So, this is going to be Priest versus the Rogue. And, you know, how do you feel this matchup goes overall? Because this is not really too favored for the Priest in general. It does depend on lists, you know, change a few percentages here and there. Just so you know, the camera's the wrong way round. Evangelion is the guy with the long hair and shock horror with the Valencia stuff in the background. He plays for Valencia Football Club.
Wow.
Esports. So they have an esports division.
More teams doing that.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, so yeah, he might play football as well. I'm not 100% sure. I've not actually asked him about football, but he does play for the club. And yeah, as you can see here, he's the champion of 2016 GMAC Valencia. I had the pleasure of casting that tournament and the pleasure of watching Evangelion, I think, go 12-1 or 13-1 with his N'Zoth Paladin deck at the time. Throughout the whole
it was absolutely ridiculous. Well, he just looked completely unbeatable.
His last hero standing, so he just didn't play his other decks. We got to like the finals and didn't know what one of his decks was because he just started to play it. He just 3-0 in everyone with Paladin. It was weird.
And today he's playing Priest.
Yep.
So you wouldn't expect this to be the Silence Priest then? But again, a lot of these teams are throwing curveballs and not playing what you expect them to play for that exact reason.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one because predictability is something we've seen players mess around with. Dog on Pirate Warrior out of nowhere for a start is something that was really interesting. And Moglad for Bulgaria actually going from Taunt Warrior, Pirate Warrior, just to switch it up again. So very difficult, but I imagine for Evangelion, I'm going to go Dragon Warrior.
Okay.
Dragon Warrior, Dragon Priest.
Okay. I was going to say Dragon Warrior is a very interesting choice. That's my fault.
Especially when he picked Priest. So it's a really strange list. But no, I think it's going to be Dragon Priest if I know him well. I'm just going to look because I see him getting into the game right now. Am I correct? No, it's Silence. And the wrong way round. So again, just to remind everyone, the cameras are the incorrect way round. So Evangelion is the guy on camera at the top, but he's in fact should be on the bottom. So it is him playing the Priest. Ting Tong is the guy on the bottom, but playing the Rogue. So we'll get that fixed in a minute, but it is going to be Quest Rogue, and Sol would be very happy because I see a Wisp in that list.
Sottle would be very happy, said nobody ever.
Unless it's about Wisps.
Okay, unless it's about Wisps.
Sure. He likes a secret love of Wisps.
So with the Wisp, they do have some extra chance because there's a very good chance there's Doomsayer in this particular build as well, which is one way that Rogue can actually slow down the Priest deck. There's not many ways because they don't usually play Sap, so Doomsayer is kind of it. It's like, let's just get this down on the right turn, whatever the right turn may be, if you draw it, which they haven't, and try and put a spanner in the works. Otherwise, the Priest can just hit you for 30-30, was it in that previous round?
That was 30-30 in Dragon Priest as well. Never mind this. But they pulled the pieces together. That was kind of crazy, and it's always the fear factor, right? If a minion's left on the board, you're like, oh no. You know, this could suddenly just hit me for a hell of a lot next turn.
Yeah, this is all in on the Silence Priest. A lot of these don't play too much removal. They just...
Yeah, that was actually huge for Evangelion because one of the issues we've had when we've seen Silence Priest played is you have cards like Talon Priest, Shambler, but you don't have the kickers, right? You know, you don't have the Raised Leaves, you don't have the Watchers that actually start off your combos. Without those, then your cards aren't really doing anything, you know.
So this is going to just make a huge minion. It doesn't matter that it can't attack because the Shambler can.
Yep, exactly. Glacial Shard, though, very important. Doesn't matter the attack you dudes if you freeze them and they can't attack.
Yeah, and obviously Just for those who haven't seen this somewhere, if you've been living in under a rock or somewhere for the last month, basically the Glacial Shard version of this, you can just keep bouncing it, sticking it back on the board, complete your quest, and stop anything attacking you ever.
Yeah, it's actually kind of, I think it's, for me personally, one of the most powerful bounce options in the whole deck. Sure, against some, against Mage, it's not doing much, but in the decks, in the matchup, sorry, you want to Glacial Shard freeze either aggressive minions or face for, say, Pirate Warrior. It just wins you games you shouldn't win. Like, it really does. Like, for example, you can imagine Evangelion plays the Razor Leaf on the board, goes into Shambler, buff, should hit, freeze.
Yeah.
You just shouldn't win that game, but this one card actually just changes everything so much.
And the other thing that changes everything so much is he's going to play the Humongous Razor Leaf now, which means that New Zealand will be working with almost perfect information right from the start. They know exactly what they're going to be up against.
Yeah.
So they might just play the Acolyte.
There's a couple of options. He can Acolyte, just because he has 2 and a coin. He can Razor Leaf into Talon Priest on the Razor Leaf, then into Shambler to get an even bigger Shambler. But I wonder how much health matters. I guess it matters for Inner Fire.
No, there's some break points, right? So obviously 15 is important, but it's hard to get to 15 because 8 plus 3 plus 3 isn't 15.
Yeah, just health on the minion is important, right? Because, you can Talon Priest the Razor Leaf, then you can Shambler it, but without Inner Fire, that health versus Quest Rogue doesn't really matter, right? It's not about the health, it's how fast you can raise them. So if it's still just for attack, it doesn't matter too much. Yaska's gone for the Razor Leaf, though. There's a Wisp.
Yeah, and Quest Rogue doesn't have the option that some of these decks do, like, okay, I'm going to run stuff into there, make it a 4-3. Yeah, you can heal it up, but it costs your turn. I'm going to keep running minions into it until I give my board. Quest Rogue just doesn't have anything. It's got Wisps.
Also, just can't do that, can't afford to do that anyway, right? They can't spend that time trying to trade away when, in general, they need to be sort of aggressive. They're an aggressive deck that start at turn 5.
Yeah, something that we've assumed here that about the people we're talking to is basically the Quest Rogue is actually slower than the Priest. That's the problem.
Yes.
The Quest Rogue is slower, and so therefore, even though everyone's probably thinking, well, you just hit it with 5/5s. No, you're dead by the time you get the 5/5s. A lot of the time. Obviously, if it was all the time, we wouldn't play the game.
Yeah. And playing against the Silence Priest is just living in constant fear. You see this and you're like, oh, it can't attack. What if next turn there's like Purify in a Fire, 8/8, and you're just like, oh no, or just Silence Divine Spirit in a Fire, and you're like, I guess I lose. Like, that is the constant fear when you're playing against this Priest, and it is. I don't enjoy playing against this list at all.
It's interesting to me that New Zealand haven't played this Novice Engineer yet. They're being quite greedy with it. Maybe hoping to get a bounce for it, or maybe feeling their hand is so bad they need to get more stuff. And now they've got to play it. They could have played it last turn. I think they were hoping to pick up a bounce for it. Or just to develop their hand more, maybe, but...
Yeah, real tough one, isn't it? Because although Novice Engineer doesn't do much, it's actually one of the harder ones to bounce, because it's 2 mana. And also, I don't know, I feel like you can't wait with this deck. You need to make things happen in Quest Rogue. You can't be like, oh, I'll wait till I draw a bounce for this Engineer. No, you need to engineer into stuff to do, most of the time.
That's how it felt, right? But also, maybe they felt if we just give it 1 turn, it's not going to change our future turns too much.
My lord. I mean, this is how scary the deck is, guys. So Shambler can come down this turn. Freezes are definitely an option, as in a fear. But double Divine Spirit with Powered Shield, there's just 1 Inner Fire away from this being game.
They've got to be careful of Vanish.
That's true.
They've got to be very careful. What Spain is thinking now, if you're wondering why aren't they just going all in, making this into a...
No, you do it on the turn you attack.
Right. You've got to really take your time here, make sure you set it up a little bit more sensibly, just because of Vanish.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. You do all that on the turn you get to swing once,
maybe next
at least.
This could just all be over.
Yeah, you do need to find the Inner Fire, though.
Yeah, it could just all be over if Inner Fire turns up.
And that would be a 32 damage swing.
That doesn't sound very fair.
Life isn't fair, Lorinda.
I know that.
Life isn't fair.
I know this. So back in 2014, this was the sort of deck that people played for fun. Now people play for fun and just kill people with it, which is even more fun. It's like twice the fun.
Yeah, it's actually kind of scary. And this as well, now, Evangelion can start doing stuff like, just get the second Acolyte down. Just start saying, well, okay, I'm not drawing it now, but I will draw into it. It is going to happen at some point. And also, with this Wild Pyromancer and a Circle of Healing, it means that you can potentially do some crazy stuff as soon as Cleric comes out.
Right. It looks like they can turn up the heat here, by the way. They're going to start just drawing all the cards, see what they can find, and see if they can just win the game next turn. Why not? I wouldn't be surprised at all just to see the Acolyte here.
I wouldn't mind Acolyte. Acolyte feels good just because you do need to draw into stuff, but even the Razor Leaf, just to say more options, right? Like, you know, if you kill this somehow, then I have another Razor Leaf next to it that I can potentially silence and then push for more damage.
And we can see that Spain have got a little bit of time, but Spain will be feeling pressure with that Elemental hitting the board. There'll be 2 or even 3, and they've picked up the Vanish, which now is just about timing, right?
Yeah, because especially you can kill off his Igneous. Yeah, she's definitely something you want to do. Do you think you can ever wait?
I think you might not have a choice because you want to bounce your Flame Elementals to finish the quest yourself. So I think you shut your eyes for a turn here and hope they haven't got it. You're only expecting to be hit for 16 here.
Yep.
And then next turn you may start doing the vanishy stuff. You're going to do it now anyway because you can still play them back down. Because of the double prep, of course.
Yep. So this is going to be a
and then next turn's absurd because you can just do the Flame Elemental and the extra prep.
And with Wisp, it's just an easy card to whip into the deck as well.
Yep, there's 2 5/5s in a lot of worlds. Now, how are Spain going to deal with this?
Why was the Wisp played?
So it can attack next turn into whatever's played back down.
Are you not worried about Potion of Madness, though? I just thought, you know, you could take, yes, 5 extra damage. It doesn't give him lethal. You know what I mean?
Sure.
If it's set up lethal, then I'm always down for that. But I just feel like, well, this just feels like you're throwing away a very easy free 5/5.
You can kill a 4/8.
Board.
Which you know is in their hand. 2 5/5 kill a 4/8, maybe. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. I suppose there's pros and cons, right? Just for me, I'd be worried, like, well, if this just randomly dies to a Potion of Madness or a Pyromancer, you know what I mean? It dies very, very easily. That's all I'm saying.
Right, and unfortunate for Spain here in some ways, they can't get the Acolyte down and do the Pyro mess. They obviously would overdraw anyway there. But you've still got 2 turns, right, as Spain? Well, Southsea Deckhand's 10. You know that's coming.
Is double Razor Maw your best chance? Hope that one lives, then you can buff Shambler. You've seen one vanish, and just say you ain't getting through this Shambler ever.
Right.
Even with 5/5s, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the ideas as well is that if the 5/5s trade in to a 4-attack minion, then he has Pyro and a spell.
Right.
To clear off the rest of the 1 health that's left.
So, Flame Elemental starts the turn, it completes the quest. That's the bit we know is going to happen. Preparation with Mimic Pod or preparation with Quest gives you a total of 5 mana for those 2 things, which leaves you 2 left over as well. So plenty of things you can do here, including shards. I think you want to Mimic Pod and see where you're at.
Yeah, I was thinking either Mimic Pod or just Novice. Because, you know, Novice develops a minion onto the board if you're questing anywhere, you know. So you could Novice to just see what you draw. I mean, this is always going to happen, right? So this is done dusted.
Here we go with the Mimic Pod. Okay, he's going to do the Crystal Core first, which means he might not pod because he'd have podded first because it's the same mana. You still reduce by 3.
Haha. That's a lot of damage.
By the way.
Mimic Pod last.
Yeah, if he drew patches there, that would have been interesting because he had an extra charge minion. Or those.
But it wouldn't have come out.
Sure. So, but he drew boars.
Wow. That's just 10 damage for 2 mana from hand.
Yeah, what are you going to silence, though?
Silence will proc Pyro, is one thing to think about. So you can clear 1, 2, 3 of these minions. Probably not enough, even that.
Silence Quest.
Silence the rogue's face.
Silence face.
Like, no.
No, you can't have this quest. It's a little bit naughty.
Yeah.
And from looking like Spain were in a fantastic position, oddly enough, the Vanish, in conjunction with Prep in hand, just turned it all around.
Well, that's the thing for the Priest, right? It requires, funnily enough, against the Rogue, preparation. So you need to set up you need to set up the board to win, right? It looks like he's going for the Pyro play. I did wonder if this was going to be Razor Maw, Faceless, Cross Fingers, and Hope.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, it's just going to go for
either one is cross fingers, it just depends. This one probably builds your board where you might actually one day win the game. The other way, the Faceless just gets killed and then you're in the same spot with no Faceless.
Well, the minions don't kill the Razor Leaf, sorry, and then you can next turn Divine Spirit and a Fire win.
I hope you like my invention.
Yeah.
Right? You know, like, but we can see this Glacial Shard, which is, again, MVP in this deck all of the time, no matter what. It blows my mind how good this card is.
Yeah, one of the things I did wrong when I started playing this deck, I'm sure I'm not the only one, I might be the only one, is Glacial Sharding too early. It's like, I'm going to freeze all your minions, this is great fun.
Oh, this is just lethal anyway. Doesn't matter. You can carry on your point.
It's fine.
So I was just pointing out this is lethal. Because there are pigs all over the show. And with 3 balls, 1 mana 5/5s with charge are pretty good in the game. But yeah, you do Glacial Shard timing is very important.
Like, that would have saved the game. If they hadn't had lethal, that would have been a card that, of course, they haven't
win the game.
Sort of left it lying around somewhere. We just won the game anyway. 2-0.
Yeah, definitely a cool one. It looks like New Zealand are coming out strong here versus Spain, and just very confident wins across the board. I feel so far. They only need to win 1 more to be able to take this 3-0, and we're starting to see as the weeks go on. These 3-0s where you can get a big game score gap are getting very, very important. There are teams at the top that have like a 1 or 2 game score over the team that's second place.
Here we go, going to be Shaman versus Druid, Pathra versus Feeling, as you can see there on the screen. And Pathra not going to get to play Warrior, which is interesting.
Yeah, Pathra has played a ton of Shaman though overall, and has been messing around with a lot of the current decks. As I've been saying, there's a lot of lists knocking around, but I do believe the the Jade sort of splash of Elemental with Spirit Echoes is becoming more and more almost the accepted standard, basically just because of how much value you can get. You've got great tools versus aggro, because you've got so much heal, and then you've got great tools versus control because you have Jades and can effectively bounce Jades with Spirit Echoes.
That's the thing, you've got such amazing early game with Lightning Storms with Devolve that you need to jam a lot of value into not many cards for the rest of the game, and oddly enough there's a card that does that. It's all the Jade stuff, all goes basically 2 for 1. And so that's how you get your late game, and that's where Shaman seems to be settling down.
Yeah, what do you think of Halazil? We saw Halazil in the last series, but I've seen a lot of lists with, a lot of lists without. So it's very much, I feel like it's just needs to work out whether it goes in or not.
Yeah, it's one of those cards that if you feel you're stabilizing, but you're stabilizing in range of a weapon or something, then you need the Halazil to get you out
really
of
push
range.
out, yeah.
And that's just something that happens when you play a lot of games of Hearthstone. You will get a feel for how you feel you stabilize. That could be playstyle dependent, that could be deck dependent, exact card for card. And obviously previously the team were thinking, well, we don't always stabilize on a sensible health total. Let's just put in Halazil. On the other side of that, it is a card that always seems to sit in hand whenever I watch it being played.
Yeah, I know one of the problems as well is versus control. It's very difficult to get value from it. I feel it's like always like Halazil J-line in face, and it's like, okay, it's not amazing. See the players getting ready there, feeling with an awesome background of all Hearthstone things. So that was actually pretty cool.
Hearthstone things. You've got quite a few Hearthstone things lying around.
I have a Murloc over there actually. I might bring him to the desk for the series for today. He can cast with us. Oh, you can see him on the far left near the candle.
That's your Murloc.
Is my Murloc.
Cool.
I just like to add to the set, guys. Bring myself and a friend and Lorinda.
Wow. I just turn up. I'm not even invited, just here.
We just found him randomly, so I thought, hey, do you want to cast some games? Went, okay, why not?
Give it a go.
Yeah. And what do you think about Druid now, getting back to the game? Like, because me and Falcon spoke a lot about Druid last series. We saw 2. We saw the aggro and the Jades. We're about to find out which one this is, and indeed, it is Jade. And okay, let's just wipe everything. I'm going to place Druid over to the side for a second. How do you feel about Token Shaman, Lorinda?
This deck, every time I play against it, looks like a bunch of garbage, and then it wins.
It beats you, yeah. Every
it's
time.
Like, what are all these rubbish cards? Oh, I see. Yeah, this deck is surprisingly hard to deal with. This Primal Fin's actually a nuisance. It's an ongoing threat. Obviously, you're completely concerned about Bloodlust, so you've got to deal with it. And it feels bad dealing with a 0-3.
It's exactly the same reason why Manatide and Flame Tongue are powerful.
Right.
The card, the minion itself, is a 0-3. It is not hitting you, but it inadvertently is to a certain extent, right? And you then, especially with this one and Flame Tongue as well, are the 2 culprits. I think Flame Tongue's more powerful in general, of course. But if you kill this, you probably can't kill what it's either buffing or spawning, right? So then either way, whatever you do, you're kind of behind from playing this 2-mana card, right? Flame Tongue early on, even late on, a lot of the time you have the options to kill the Flame Tongue or kill the minion. If you kill the minion, you're taking more damage.
Yeah.
Or you just use
you
the
soon learn to kill the Flame Tongue.
But if you kill the Flame Tongue, the minions are still there, right? And we can see now both in hand for Patra, and this is looking a pretty reasonable opening, although I spot a lot of ramp here for Feeling at Spain, and that Innovate is huge. Do you fancy yourself an Innovate Jade Blossom, coin Jade Blossom?
Yeah, coin Jade Idol. But yeah, I do very much.
Oh, would you coin Jade Idol this turn?
So you've got 4, 5 mana? Oh, I see.
Yeah, I think Innovate Blossom, coin Blossom.
Yeah, that's better.
Then
That's
whatever.
What I was saying, yeah. Like it. Interesting to see there was a Gluttonous Ooze in the opening hand here for Spain. A lot of people are probably wondering why I just said that, as it's standard in the deck. We've seen Gluttonous Ooze and the Tar Creeper get removed recently in favour of a couple of Kodos. And one of the Primordial Drakes been dropped recently as well in certain decks. So it is now a tech choice to actually play the Ooze, and there's the Bloodlust. So what Pathfinder has to do now, sounds easy when you say it quick, is make a huge board.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky, isn't it? Because as soon as this prime, I mean, maybe with the Argent Squire already, it's like, okay, I know what this deck is. As soon as the Primal Fins comes down, then Felix 100% priority is empty this board every single turn.
Yep.
But Druid struggles with that, not so much with the 1/1s, but with the totems. Like, dealing 2 to a board is very, very, very hard as Druid, especially with no Azure Drake anymore for swipe.
No Azure Drake for swipe. And no one plays Thanos because there's no space in the deck. There's just not enough removal spells to make Thanos really worth it. And there's not enough Shaman.
Yeah, especially when there's, you know, now there's like a lot of the time 2 Tar Creeper, 2 Scales as well. You know, like you kind of use the Thanos slot for those additional
maybe
cards,
it comes back if people keep playing Living Mana, but I think everyone's hoping that deck goes away.
Yeah, and
it's not going away, but everyone's hoping it goes
the problem
away.
as well is like, are you gonna really tech that hard for one deck in a meta that's got so many variations?
It's a 2 mana card that cycles through, so it's not the world's most expensive tech card. So I think we might see that happen eventually. Yeah. Right, Pathfinder begins the smackdown, and Spain, that's a good pickup just because it's a 3/5. Nothing to do with the fact it's not a great pickup. There were definitely better things, but
do you innovate hero power? That's my question.
It's really, really tempting.
Yeah, I think you do, right? Oh, you sorry, Feral Rage. Sorry, yeah. I forgot it was on 1 mana spare. So yeah, you Feral Rage onto the Flame Tongue just is obviously 1,000 times better than my suggestion. I actually missed the 1 mana. Thought it was like just innovate to 2, but yeah, you definitely had to do something to the board because you kind of need Fandral to stick, or you've got no chance at going late game here.
This is something we're seeing more and more from Hearthstone over the last since Ungoro. Like Aya Blackpaw in a token deck. It makes tokens, it's fine, it's a good top end. We're seeing decks have this early game or mid game, depending how it's built, and then still have like this straggling stuff like Tyrion or whatever.
Yeah.
Just gives you that extra force. We've seen Yogg. I saw Yogg tested today by APX in
it's just
in Mage.
Yeah, it's just that extra push, right? You know, that one extra for one card. You look at cards like Aya, Tyrion, that one card is so powerful that you can probably make room in your deck, right? Even if you're not really building a deck that leans that sort of late game. See, Primal Fin come down now, but...
Look at this board. Pathfinder's going to have a 3-minion board by doing nothing.
It's so weird, isn't it?
Here we go. Here's a bunch of nothing. Boom. 3 minions versus 1, and I've got a handful of buffs.
Yeah. What did you think about dropping Flame Tongue instead there? Because then the priorities shifted, right?
Right.
Absolutely, you don't know what to kill, and this is a huge, huge, huge pickup for Team Spain here. Nourish is exactly what Feeling needed, because if he just drew, you know, almost any other card that wasn't Nourish, you're looking pretty bad, especially if he drew a Drake. His turn is just Hero Power Pass.
Next 2 turns enormous as well from that Nourish, because Feeling's Jades are not small.
Yeah.
And Pathfinder's a 2/2, I think this is going to be. So, although she's still doing okay getting the board, this game can change very, very quickly in favour of Jade Druid now. Don't forget they've got Earthen Scales still to come to gain some armour.
Double Tar Creeper now.
Double Tar Creeper and Ooze in this deck. That's super early game defensive.
This is nuts though, because now, as we've sort of pushed past the point of Patra just overrunning Feeling, all he has to do is just not die. And this is just like, these are the cards you want to not die. You know, just like, he can just go for the Behemoth. Looks like this turn, trade away into the 2/2. Next turn, he has like, you can just slam double Tar Creeper whenever he wants to just soak up at least 2 attacks.
Yeah.
But 5 is actually an awkward number to deal with. So it's going to be at least Patches.
Ooh. Patches. I'm sure you said that before it appeared there.
I'm just that good.
It's not good to get Patches.
It's good to know when it's coming.
That's true. That is
Just
true.
preemptively deal with it in your mind before you actually see it in hand and get your heart broken.
Well,
Your heart doesn't break when you draw patches. Mine does.
I don't play it.
Ah, well, there you go.
There you go. Actually, I do. I mean,
you don't understand what true heartbreak is, Lorinda, if you've not played patches and then drawn it multiple games in a row. Thing from below is just going to have to come down this turn, I feel. Can whip in there a couple of totems as well, so she's going to be able to at least build a board. This Aya, as you said, is going to help one trade and generate a token, but this is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, and
it's just not fast enough, right? Like, just missed the...
Right.
If that Nourish was any other card, Patra probably could have made this work, but I feel like this is just a bit too far behind, especially because we can see a second Nourish.
Yeah,
two more Tar
she's having
Creepers.
to...
Yeah.
Like you say, there's going to be the defense, there's going to be the Nourish, and that's going to draw into bigger and bigger stuff, and more armor. The great thing with this Druid deck at the moment is that you can just get out of range so quickly by gaining 10 armor for 1 mana. There it is.
Speaking of which, yeah. You said that before the card even came up, Lorinda.
That's because I played a lot of this deck.
Oh, really? You're one of those people. Nah, I played a lot of J-Druid.
I'm a nice person. Everyone says so.
Swipe is a good card, though. Not really needed this turn.
Yeah, this is actually just a decision here. Like, do you just want to give up your 5/5, or do you actually want to use the Wrath? You got to give the
I like
Wrath.
this.
Of course, I like this a lot.
You can earn scales and get a positive trade.
Yeah, this is nice. 6 is plenty because you can just... 42 is plenty, even when you know your opponent might Bloodlust you.
Just a casual amount of armor there. Just 15 extra armor and extra health in general for Feeling. It'll be looking pretty good. Manatide might help. That might be a card that can sort of drag Patra back into this game if some of the draws are really on point in the next couple of turns. But other than that...
15 extra armor. 6 of it came from the other scales, which helped kill a minion, and 8 of it came from a Fandrilled Feral Rage, which helped kill a minion. So the armor's come from not just being armoring up, but also actually killing things at the same time.
Well, it was more than 15 total, right? Because of... Oh, no, it wasn't, because it traded into the Flame Tongue.
Sure.
So it didn't take any damage, but 15 armor that you managed to keep hold of and gain the board with.
And kill a 5/5 and a 0/3 while you're at it. Just
reasonable.
That seems like a good card.
I'd probably try and do that myself. Firefly, again, you can see how this deck works. If you've not seen it before, it is just a full token deck. You just play everything that can drop more stuff onto the board than should be allowed, and then just hit them with Bloodlust. But the problem here is suddenly Bloodlust, it might help get through the Drake next turn. Yeah, it might help get through the Tar Creeps at some point. It also isn't going to do like 40 damage.
Are you sure?
So, am I sure what?
We're casters. Are you sure you can't do 40 damage with the Bloodlust? I'm sure. I'm fairly sure.
Well, you can do 40 damage with the Bloodlust. Patra can't do 40 damage with this Bloodlust. Not to face, anyway.
Even the dog's given up.
Doggo. Casual doggo in the background.
Given up on the game.
Yeah, he's like, okay, are we ready for walkies yet? Because
how about
I feel like this
double Bloodlust? You get plus 15, so double Bloodlust would be plus 30. No, it's not enough.
Not on this board.
You've got to do 48. And that's if this doesn't attack, because Spain timeout. So the best move for Spain here, obviously, is just to lock this up. Swipe looks incredible. I guess the question is, do you play the Auctioneer with it?
Yeah. You're not dying, right? Swipe actually just clears almost all the board anyway.
The other option is double Tar Creeper.
Nah, Auctioneer swipe every day of the week. Oh, okay. Go for swipe. Hero power, I guess, with Tar Creeper. So I guess if you do this hero power, you may as well, right?
Yeah, just keeping the Auctioneer because doesn't feel it's needed. This does put the maximum taunt on the board for any axis. I mean, you're in this situation now where you're thinking, this isn't a commonly played deck, there might be a tech card, what could it be? And whatever the first thing that drifts through your mind is the card you play around. Because nothing in the real world is going to beat you.
Yep. Jade Claws is really going to do it. You don't get Bloodlust on yourself. It's not like Feral Rage.
Yeah, and Pathra and Doggo agree.
Yeah, and Spain start to fight back as Feeling takes the win over Patra there with against that token Shaman with the Jade Druid. So he's looking happy keeping Spain in the running here. So very, very important for those guys to stay in the match. But, that I don't think was a good display of what that Shaman deck can do, because that deck is actually pretty powerful.
That is one of the reasons that deck's not tier 1, though.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it just draws a whole bunch of, let's call them tech cards. They're cards the deck needs, but cards that aren't so great early. And it does have to draw things in the right order.
Well, a lot of the worries is if your opponent deals with the board once, it can be a little bit more difficult to build the board back up again as opposed to some other classes. But we can talk about the matchup we've got coming up now. Flamelord versus Duck, and it is going to be Mage versus Rogue. And again, we have seen Miracle today, but I can't get past the point of just thinking that Quest Rogue is just too good to not play at the moment versus any deck. Like you just pick Quest Rogue.
And this is a really weird situation because to win they've got to win twice, have Spain, and they're both playing each other with the same 3 decks. It's now like a mini
best of 3.
Yeah. It's like it's like a mini conquest to some extent, except the deck doesn't get played again. So it's not
what I'm kind of surprised at is there's not been more call outs to players on opposing teams saying, I want to play against you. You queue first, I'll queue first. Because Firebat and Tice did it, except Tice dodged him. So, come on, Tice. But in general, you know, I'm surprised it's not happened a bit more because it's not like, you know, it makes like the match weird or anything. It's just, well, we're not playing you what decks. We're not telling you what decks we're playing. It's just, I want to play versus you. Let's go.
Yeah, you get it in other events sometimes around the world. So, yeah, it would be fun to see that, guys. So, come on, get with it. Give us a little bit more spice to work with at times.
George C., you know what to do.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, he won't call out anyone because he thinks he's better than them all.
Well, there you go.
So I don't need to call you out. I'll just play whoever turns up.
Call out anyone who says he's not good. But let's talk about these 2 players instead. Flamelord, the highest HCT point earner from New Zealand in the whole of 2016. So not a bad result in general.
Duck loves paella. Sure, that
always learned
weird
with the
on
clean
some
knowledge.
level.
I mean, paella's pretty nice, right?
Yeah. Even if you're a duck?
I'd probably eat it for duck. I'm a raven and I like it.
Okay. That works pretty well.
See? Oh, just one family over here. But yeah, there's a Duck as well as the anchor for the Spanish team. He had a two top 10 ladder finishes for Europe in the winter season. That's actually pretty hard. A lot of people talk about top 100, right?
Yeah.
And top 100 is hard because there are a lot of people getting it. That's where you get the majority of the HCT points for. But when you get top 10, you know, the best players in the world in each region are playing for top 10 because you get like a huge step up in points there. And that sort of break point can actually make you qualify, almost guaranteed.
You saw there that Flamelord carried the flag for New Zealand in the Minor Olympics. Do you know what game he played?
Go on.
Go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sort of like a card game.
It's a very, it's sort of like chess with beads.
Yeah.
Spatial awareness game.
Spatial.
And you have to be incredible. I would be absolutely terrible at that game. In fact, I am. I've tried it and I'm just dismal.
Yeah, I've watched it before, but I've not played it. I think I'd be bad at it.
Yeah, I think you would too. Involves logic and spatial awareness. Our 2 strong suits will be fine.
Well, logic's mine. Definitely not Lorinda's, though. But this Mage and Rogue matchup, how do you feel it's going to go here?
The Mage deck. I mean, we've seen more and more rapid Mages coming into it. I still think that Mage will be favoured here, whichever one it is, but that is assuming it's Cavern Rogue.
It's Cavern Rogue, and also known as a Quest Rogue, of course. Flamelord looks like he is playing... Yeah, it's going to be the Discover Mage. Potentially it's Freeze Mage still, with that Blizzard in hand. But in general, I played a lot of the Mage side of this. I feel like you just get them. You just send everything to face, because it feels weird because you look at Quest Rogue and like, oh, they kind of give you 5 turns, right? And you think of Aggro Deck, Pirate Warrior, Hunter, you know, anything, even Murloc Paladin to a certain extent, anything that can start off on the board pretty quick. Mage doesn't really start off on the board quick, but they have a lot of cheap spells they can get that just hit you in the face, and there's nothing Rogue can do about it because of like the sort of damage permanence of not having any heal in the deck either. So you can start to just cash in on a highly aggressive opening, and then that Blizzard could be very key to stop the quest turn.
Right, that's the
Stall
thing.
for 1 turn and be like, 1 more turn of burn, go.
And then the blocks, another more turn of burn.
Yeah.
And so on. I found that one of the difficulties beating Mage was when they get the block down early, or early enough, obviously. And you turn your turn 6 win into a turn 7 win, then they Blizzard, it's a turn 8, and suddenly you're just
And every single
dead.
time they're drawing towards cards like Pyroblast, Fireballs, Flare, Violence, Portals, for example, just anything to do more damage.
Okay, so there's a Doomsayer and an Acolyte, which means this could just be Freeze Mage.
Yeah, it looks like it. I've not seen any Discover Mages that run Doomsayer, really, because you run Mana Worm and you run Arcanologist. You know, you want minions on the board for when you draw them early on. So yeah, I think this is looking more and more like the Freeze version. Yeah, do you think this holds up better or worse?
I must admit I haven't seen a huge amount of it because since I started doing my rogue experiences, the freeze mage has drifted out the meta.
The rogue experience. I love it.
The Raven
make a mini documentary.
Yeah,
rogue experience.
It would be a very, very funny documentary, the first 50 games or so as well. So, although you can't put that early pressure on, the rogue's going to have to kill you with the charge minions because it's not going to get any, there's going to be more freezes in this. And so, I think the rogue's likely to complete the quest, but can it then connect enough with the swashbuckler, with the deckhand?
Also, as well, ice barriers make the numbers weird a lot of the times. So a lot of this is, a lot of Quest Rogue is counting in 5s and 1s. Basically, you have the 1s for the dagger, and then the 5s from once the quest is completed. Any damage you get done before that is great, but the damage has to line up to a 26, or even a 27 if you can set up to. But it's all about hitting those numbers, so we'll see how that turns out as we go in further into this game.
And it is just a puzzle for the freeze mage. They have to just win as quickly as possible without dying, which is what Hearthstone's all about. But obviously in this particular matchup, it's very solitaire-based to some degree. They are trying to just do what they do.
Yeah, and the weird thing as well is this Alex Straza, in freeze mage is probably the smallest bit better having in your opening hand because it means that you can just freeze. You just freeze it out and you don't care because then you go Alex kill.
Yeah.
But there's a chance it can be used defensively after a block if your opponent doesn't have 3 minions. Because you go to 15, so you die, because as we said, it's in 5s.
But maybe you get a Frost Nova from a glyph or something. You go Alex Frost Nova and hit them for 8 the next turn.
It is very tricky.
If there's no Biofin.
Yeah.
The other question is now, the Rogue deck still isn't standardized, and I suspect it never will be, because the second it becomes standardized, everyone plays around whatever the thing is you put in, whether it's a Biofin, whether it's etc., freeze effect, etc. Eventually, I think they'll just keep rotating the same 4 or 5 cards around in circles.
Yeah, now we can see now, because the Shadow Step, this quest is going to be done next turn. You can play the Novice Engineer, then bounce it with probably the Ferryman, just because it's a combo requirement. You bounce it and then replay it again for 2. Quest will not be live, but it will be in hand. And then next turn, there's potential to just prep quest go.
Yeah, that's pretty quick. Although, obviously, with it being pretty quick, there's a chance there won't be much in hand. But with it being a Novice Engineer...
Well, there's a chance as well that you might not even prep the quest. You might be okay with 1 turn just saying, quest, okay.
Yep.
Done. Because you're against Freeze Mage, we see the Tolvir Stone Shaper, and it did get some good work done when we saw it earlier today against the Pirate Warrior. Didn't end up being quite enough because the second Mortal Strike came off the top, but already you can see the work that this card can do, maybe unexpectedly in the rogue list.
Just laughing to myself here, of course, partially because I'm old and that's what I do, but partially because next turn I suspect Flame Lord will drop the Ice Block. And then you will be really wondering if you're duck, can I definitely play my quest? Is it counterspell? Counterspells in a lot of the more tempo-based, the secret-based decks, it shouldn't be a counterspell. You should know by now it's not, but it may just be a trick they can do to buy a turn or 2.
It's always a consideration. What that might open up is a prep turn, because prep, there's no drawback other than getting prep counterspelled, because it costs 0 mana, you can still play the quest, and if it's not, and you prep, oh no, my quest is cheap, and then I just play more stuff, like, it's completely fine.
But it does buy you 3 mana, which is a lot. I mean, you're only trading 3 for 3, it's not like you're getting in front, but it still buys you a turn.
Now we start to move towards the slightly scary turns here for Flame Lord, as he needs to very much consider and control this board quite heavily here. I do think this might be this might have to be Ice Block.
Yeah, just for a threat, even though it's not a threat. As
also,
well.
just to get Ice Block on, I'm not gonna lie, you could just die next turn.
Yeah, you could just die next turn. That's how ridiculous this deck is.
Because there's no good way to clear off this board. If you ping, then sure, there's 10 damage available with the quest. But if there's like, prep quest? I suppose with no dagger, it's unlikely. But I was thinking like, prep quest with dagger, 2 deck hands, and patches. But
that's 30.
But there you go.
That'll do.
It's a lot of damage.
Flame Lord running all these things through his head. Not just can I bluff, but will they fall for it? And do I need it anyway? Do I need the card draw? Because he's getting reasonably close himself. Can't freeze the board. Do I ever get the chance to Blizzard? Do I want to Doomsayer? There's so much going through his head here. And he's just going to go for, you know what? Okay. I don't die if I kill the 1-1, and I'm going to draw a lot of cards.
Okay, let's see what happens. Off the top is a boar. These are the cards you want to draw into when you're about to proc your quest, is the charge minions. This changes everything. Novice Engineer going to come down by the looks of it for Team Spain. Glacial Shard. Not terrible on the Acolyte, but it can still be pinged.
Just to point out as well that one of the Flame Lord's decisions there would be that he doesn't mind overdrawing because he's got the Alex in his hand. You're never going to fatigue, so the overdraw just does not matter. You know, if your opponent wants to give you 2 cards here, good luck to them. I'll have those cards, thanks. It means you're not hitting me in the face for 15.
Yep.
But
I imagine we see Glacial this turn.
Yeah.
Because playing the ball and just randomly going face doesn't really change much. Whereas Glacier on the Acolyte means that the Acolyte can't be traded and pinged, so reduces card draw down by 1. You could trade into the Thanos as well.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And yeah, just start hitting them.
Yeah, I mean, the game plan is suddenly fairly straightforward for Duck here. It's much more, the onus is much more on Flame Lord to, work out how he needs to navigate Duck's turns as opposed. Duck's just like, I'm going to play stuff and punch you in the face. There is definitely some things to consider, but now, the heat's on. There's 20 damage available, 1 charge minion in hand, which is going to be 25 total. A Frost Nova now for New Zealand and Flame Lord. Super important. That just
what he's been holding on for with that Doomsayer as well, so might even buy them 2 turns.
Vanish is a card, though.
It is, but there's only
I don't mean you don't play it, by the way.
Right.
Because if you cross over Doomsayer, it's a pretty good turn if it goes off. You just reduce 20 damage off the board. Maybe more because they can't really play much next turn either.
So, Frost Nova, Doomsayer, Rubber Ducky.
Yeah. I think it's a pony, actually.
It's a pony.
It's got
Riding a dinosaur in a pit of lava.
On a volcano.
Wow.
That's on the back of a bigger dinosaur.
You always have to go just one better, don't you?
Sometimes 2. Yeah, so I do... Opponent's got 4 cards. Frost Nova... I feel Frost Nova Doomsayer is just the way here. You could Frost Nova ping.
Right.
And then go into Blizzard. But what's your follow-up after that? Like that's the problem.
I mean, yeah, the whole plan is how do you get to coin Alex Straza into win? That's the whole plan at this point. Yeah. How do you get there? I think you need to keep that coin active.
And also, with no ice block active, Flame Lord needs to be very careful. This is not okay. Well, at worst, I get 1 more turn. It's like no, you die at worst actually. Or is he gonna kill it off?
So boar, bounce, boar.
I don't mind this. You do have 20 damage on board. Like, you use 10 damage to hold a board and potentially do 20.
Just casually set up lethal.
Yeah.
Why not? You're going to get blizzarded, but... Absolutely absurd amounts of stuff. But New Zealand are holding on there. Every time they hold on 1 more turn, they're getting 1 turn closer to starting to set up their own combo.
Yeah.
If a Pyroblast comes off at the top,
the worry here with the Blizzard, and we can see this, of course, is that Blizzard doesn't kill the minions, and then you just vanish and be like, let's go, I have 2 bouncers and a boar.
Yeah.
No, you know what I mean? Like, that's 15 damage.
Yeah, just from absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, it's like 15 damage that you just weren't really expecting. Second ice block. Now, though, it's going to buy more time.
So how do you resist this? I think you resist this as long as possible because you don't want to be procced on 1 or 2 or something and the hero power take down the next block. So I think you resist the initial damage as long as possible. So I think you go for the Blizzard. Yeah, he's going to draw the card first, obviously. Just to make sure he has maximum information.
Ugh. Archaeologist not feeling too great with 3 of the secrets in hand.
This is the thing you were talking about earlier, though. The barrier makes the number 32.
Yeah,
which is a potentially awkward number.
Especially because there's only 1 charge on the dagger.
Right.
Too.
So that's the thing that could matter, and he just chooses the Blizzard.
Pod. Yep, easiest vanish of Duck's life.
Duck's life.
You don't not vanish, right? I can't see a reason.
No,
this is too
not
good.
With stuff you were saying about the 15 damage just in hand.
Yeah.
The question is, do you just hit the boar? I think you just play a novice. Would you overdraw with novice?
Yeah.
Oh, because you cost 2 as well. They don't all become 5/5s for 1. Yeah.
There's always overdraw to consider, Lorinda, but on the, you going a step too far there in terms of your analysis.
Hey, I thought the quest made things cost 1.
Not enough mana.
I didn't think that, but sometimes you think strange things.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is the Pyro.
It's on 7 though.
Right, but Flame Lord pretty much knows Duck's hand. Give or take a couple of cards at this point.
Ice Block needs to come down because you need the Valet live to do an additional 3.
Okay, that's good.
So Ice Block needs... I wouldn't even mind just Ice Block Barrier this.
I was thinking Ice Block Barrier, you know you're probably safe.
Because then you can Fireball Valet. Not that the Valet really matters too much, but you double Secret, next turn Coin Alexstrasza.
Turn after
Fireball.
Ice Block Fireball, turn after Pyroblast.
Yeah,
Is that
exactly.
it? Can it be stopped? Well, this patches might have something to say about all that.
So there's... Oh, this barrier is huge.
So he's got to do 32 to proc the block. Is that possible? In any world where I can cheat mana or anything? 5, 10, 15.
It's only 25, 26 to the dagger, right?
Which means that next turn, New Zealand can coin Alexstrasza to face. The block will get procced. The turn after, New Zealand will go Ice Block, Fireball you in the face.
I think it's checkmate. If New Zealand see it, because it's all good for us saying this, and this, because we can see all the cards.
Sure.
New Zealand have to do it. There's a difference between us seeing everything with our ultimate, caster knowledge, or vision, should I say, more than anything. Less knowledge, more just being able to see all the cards. There's one thing saying it's possible,
right,
but doing it is how you win games, right? That's the key.
I'm excited to see they will, but I think they will because of how they played the previous 2 turns. I think they've been looking for this. We need the Pyroblast for a couple of turns now.
It's also just how you play the deck. Right? It's all about how many turns do I get lethal, how many turns do I survive. That's the whole deck. No matter what you match up, actually. So it's not like this is some specialized rogue skills or the rogue matchup skills. It's like, well, this is how Freeze Mage plays. So you should have this skill to be able to say, this buys me this much time, then I do this much damage.
Flame Lord has just given the okay, and I think they're just all talking through. Remember, they are all talking to each other. You said New Zealand have put a lot of time in to practicing communication, practicing decks. So somebody's job here is to say there is a lethal available in 3 turns.
Yeah.
Assuming we haven't got it wrong, which it's been known, but no, this is coin Alexstrasza your opponent's face. Then next turn you can buy yourself 1 more turn after your block goes. And Fireball phase, that will put them down to 9. And unless there's some weird tech...
Eater of Secrets off the top.
Eater of Secrets off the top.
Oh, close.
Mimic Pod into Eater of Secrets.
Just why not? Well, the Glacial Shard doing its job again, just negating the fact that there's a minion there by freezing it. This is going to be the block proc, but as you said, we can see there's Ice Block available into Fireball. There's the fist pump from Flame Lord. He knows that this is effectively checkmate, not this turn, but the following couple of turns as the Pyroblast is available. More Glacial Shards. Not going to be enough for Duck. All the freeze in the world won't help anymore, friend.
And just don't get excited because you haven't got 10 mana. Do it the way you thought of doing it. Don't do something clever.
As long as Ice Block comes down,
exactly,
you surely cannot mess this up.
Don't go Fireball, whoops. That's the only way you lose this game.
Fireball, awkward. Or if it's like Ice Ball, Ice Ball?
Ice Ball, next card.
Release some information there, joking. Ice Block into like Intellect, and you're like, oh wait. There we go. Okay, they see the lines. This was set up a long time ago. I'm going to drop the Valet because why not? Imagine the Eater Secrets off the top. This will be hilarious.
Oh, you're such a cruel man.
No.
It is you're saying it jokingly, but it is a card that some people occasionally take in.
Yeah.
Because they didn't like the matchup, but I feel the matchup. It's one of those where you just have to suck it up. Yeah. Because the Eater of Secrets are so little. It's not even other scary secrets in the format. Yeah, Paladin has them. Do you really want to eat them?
Yeah. So, yeah, this is just going to be game. New Zealand are going to take it 3-1. Well played from Spain. They already know what happens next. They've played against Freeze Mage before when this is the kind of control it offers. And congratulations to New Zealand as they go for the big finish. They could have fireballed. They could have frostbolted and fireballed. No, they go for the Pyroblast, the full 10 damage to face and end this one. Flame Lord looking extremely happy. Was that an internet high five he just did? Did he just high five towards the camp, towards his teammate?
It was, yeah.
Can't blame you for that, mate, to be honest. Cannot blame you at all. So a great win there for New Zealand. I know they'll be feeling very, very happy because they've not had the easiest run through group so far.
They have not, and they're also 2 games ahead of Australia now, which I'm sure they'll enjoy thoroughly.
Yeah. Can't blame them at all. So, that series overall, what did you make of it? Do you think New Zealand just looked stronger in general over Spain, or was it, a matchup difference? Or
I mean, they played that last game really well.
Yeah,
I mean,
just solid, right?
Yeah, they must have been under a lot of pressure. When you're facing off the Rogue, it's so easy to just panic and go, oh no, let's do this. And they kept the Doomsayer right up until they drew the Frost Nova, for instance. Obvious things that you do in Freeze Mage, but they did them well, they were patient, and it paid off for them. So I think that game alone means they deserve to win it.
Yeah, we see how it went. Slayer Max, Ting Tong, and Flamelord taking the wins. Patha actually losing the Token Shaman game, but that went very, very wrong very quickly.
It really did.
I feel. But yeah, a lot of cool games coming out from these teams. I believe we can check out the group once we've got that sorted and just see exactly where New Zealand sit. They are going to be in third place, matching Argentina. Not as strong a game record as they had, like I said earlier, they had a bit of a tough loss the other week, but still looking pretty okay. Australia 0-2, Austria 0-1, but more games to play, of course. Russia and Argentina still at the top.
Yeah, Russia and Argentina are the two powerhouses in that group, I feel, and Australia might have something to say about that, but if you're 0-2, you've got some work to do, and it's going to be a scramble for 2 of those 3 spaces, I think, at the end here.
Yeah, it's all looking great as more and more games get played. We are by the end of this, we are actually halfway through this phase as we get into week 5, and I think we've actually got an interview ready with some of the winners there. I'm not sure. I think it's Patha. Yeah, Patha, are you here? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, how's it going? Congratulations on the win.
Yay! Thank you.
How did the series go overall? I mean, you lost your specific game with the Token Shaman, but how do you think the series went overall for the team? Did it go as planned? Were you happy with the deck choices?
Yes, actually, everything went as planned, except for my game, of course. But it was better that I queued that deck rather than the Taunt Warrior, of course, against Jade Druid. So, yeah.
And how early did you guys see that Freeze Mage was going to actually win that game?
We were like, uh-oh. And then we realized, wait, the Vanish worked out for us.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, okay, we got lethal, basically, in a few turns. So after they vanished, that's when we saw it.
All right, good. That seemed to have worked out in general. And what sort of preparation do you guys do? I know you're heavily involved in kind of like sort of leading the team in terms of just getting everyone organized, what deck lists and stuff. Do you do any extra preparation outside of that? Do you practice together a lot? Or is it mainly just, okay, these are the decks we're going to play and let's go?
Actually, we're all from different... Okay, I'm like currently in the States right now, and one guy is in Japan, and the other 2 are in New Zealand. So we're not physically together. And I think a couple of them are still in school. So it's very hard for us to all be online at the same time. Yeah. And so we barely practice. Like, we all do our own individual practicing. Right. And I basically give them the lineup, and then they're like, I like this class, and I want to tech it this way, and that's how it goes down.
Okay, yeah, so you let them apply their own styles to the lists anyway, and makes it work. And it seemed to have worked this week, so thanks a lot for talking to us. Congratulations again on the win, and we'll no doubt be speaking to you later.
All right, bye.
See you, nice work.
Always great to hear from Patha.
Very happy Patha there.
Yeah, actually a friend of mine as well, so it's always nice to see her and the team winning as well. So she looked pretty happy with that. And again, kind of one of the difficult ones. We see a lot of teams, look at Team Italy, right. They're actually on a team together. They spend time together anyway. Whereas you look at now, Team New Zealand, whereas they're currently all over the world anyway. They have different schedules, one because of that and one because of schools. So a lot of these difficulties need to be managed. And there are, I guess, pros and cons to that as well, because again, if you're very close teamwork, then it means that you may be too used to each other and you don't look outside the box. Whereas if you're too far away, it means that you're not used to working with each other and things clash a little bit.
Yeah, as long as you assign the classes and the ideas to each other as a team, find some time somewhere to do that.
Yeah.
And then if you do have to go away and learn the decks yourself after you've assigned the lineups, then sure. Yeah, the problem arises where someone says, oh, do you want to play Shaman? Go and build a deck.
Yeah.
And you all bring, I don't know, a control deck, and it just doesn't fit your opponent's lineup, and then you're in real trouble. So sounds like New Zealand, despite those difficulties, are getting it done in the communication stakes.
Can't argue with that. And you see this first game was really impressive from the Paladin side and from New Zealand side in general. That you know, the Blessing of Kings getting some work done, the Spite Ridge onto Spite Ridge onto a dinosaur onto a volcano or whatever it was. Really pulling out the work there. And then we move on to the next game where Quest Rogue versus the Priest. Evangelion was looking pretty good at the beginning, but again, Vanish, another game where we see Vanish make a huge impact.
Yeah, the Vanish is just ridiculous in this deck. As soon as you get the preparation with it, and it doesn't cost much mana, with all these 1 and 2 drops, you can do so many different things, whether it's defensive or offensive. That's where a lot of the tweaks are coming in people playing this deck at the moment.
We see the power of Mimic Pod in that last game with the boss, and now we see the ultimate domination, I would say, of this Jade Druid versus the Token Shaman. You see cards like Swipe, like the Drake clear up the board, and Patrick could not battle back, so a great job from Spain for winning that one. But then we see just the checkmate style of Freeze Mage sometimes, where it's like, well, I know you don't have Heal Rogue. I know your game plan is relatively linear in terms of not the turns, but what you want to achieve. And this just opened up the thing here for just having Alexstrasza, like I said at the start of the game. Having it in your hand against Rogue especially is like, well, I can just Alexstrasza him and then kill him next turn. You know, that's just can happen.
And it makes the strategy, like I said at the start, it makes the strategy easier to follow. Not easy, because it's very, very complicated.
It's more like you know what you want to do, it's just doing it, right?
There's no plan B usually against Rogue with the Freeze Mage. You're not going to get the time to sit around and wiggle some damage and force something else through most of the time. You are just going to get Alexstrasza, do 15 and sort the rest out. And they did.
With a Pyroblast to the face as well. So a good win for Flamelord and a good win for Team New Zealand. As we said, going 2-1 up in groups now and really battling for those top spots to be able to qualify. We are done for this series, but we have a great series coming up next. It's going to be Bulgaria versus China. So don't go anywhere, guys. This is Hearthstone Global Games.
We're almost there. Quiet down, everyone. This is not like any of our previous expeditions. This will be far more ambitious. We're stepping into a land of primordial wonder. Infused with astonishing elemental energies. The plant life here holds very unusual properties. So don't touch anything. And while you may be excited to see the local fauna, you might want to make sure they don't see you. Because their powers of adaptation are devastating. Make no mistake, we will be tested at every turn. But if we stay on our guard, we might just survive. Now then, are you ready? Then let's journey into Ongoro Crater.